Welcome back, folks. It's RGR Football. Seth's in a good mood. I'm in a good mood. We're running behind, but we have Chiefs football to talk about. So we are going to get into it. What Seth's been writing about, what we're seeing at camp, hearing about at camp, and welcome to RGR Football. Welcome back, everyone. He is Seth Kaiser, Esquire extraordinaire. That would be that.
Oh, indeed.
I'm Ryan. Welcome back. How are you, Seth?
Well, Esquire. I mean, let's not raise expectations. I'm doing really well. I'm in the middle of writing an extremely kind of email, so it I almost went right through this. The time flies when you're saying, with regards to this, I would note yet again, anytime you got to do stuff like that. So it's going to be fun. So I'm going to write it, and then I'm probably going to sit on it overnight, and then early tomorrow morning, I'm going to send it.
Was that email to me?
Well, look, Ryan, yet again.
Mine all start. I done told you.
Yeah. As I said previously, it just is what it is. Sometimes you have to send mean emails. That's life. Yeah. How about you? How's life?
It's crazy. A lot going on here at the homestead. A lot going on in life as we get ready for the new school year and all that kind of stuff. So I've been running ragged. I did have a chance to talk to a common friend of ours, though. So was able to record last night. You guys will see it on Sunday. Nice conversation with Brad Simcox, the Brit Chief, and I.
Sure.
So we made the cross ocean thing work, which on video is challenging, I do have to say, even with modern technology. So
really,
you guys will see that Sunday night, and I'm pretty happy with it. Good to talk to him. I'm pretty happy with the way everything's going at camp too, and I put Mahomes on the thumbnail. We're not going to spend the whole night on Mahomes, but I put him on the thumbnail for one simple reason: is I keep getting a ton of questions about this guy looks good, but what does this mean? Like how do we boil it all down? And that's why I said all in on the thumbnail for this video, folks, because whether it's the offensive line, whether it's bringing in, second tier wide receivers, that a plethora of them to fight for a job, to play with him. This is all in support of Patrick. And I think it's been that way since they walked off the field in the last Super Bowl.
Yes. Well, I would say I think it's been that way since the end of the 2017 season. Okay. I think maybe arguably even from the moment they first saw him practice. It's not like they weren't competing in the 2017 year. Obviously, the offense did a great job. I mean, they were in it, but I think from the moment they really saw Mahomes, they knew that they were going to be building the entire thing around him. Yeah. And as he goes, so goes the entire franchise. Now, the wonderful thing about that is as Mahomes goes is generally awesome. And so with him, it's just a matter of raising the ceiling. I think you and I have talked about this before. He is different than a lot of quarterbacks in that there really isn't that same ceiling that you have with a lot of other quarterbacks in terms of, well, how good can the offense be? How consistent can the offense be? With Mahomes at the helm, the best this offense can be is the best offense in the history of the NFL. That's the ceiling. There is not that same ceiling that you have with other quarterbacks. So everything they do, to me, is the idea of trying to get to that ceiling and make it to where the rest of the team is not an impediment to that ceiling and rather enhances it. And that's everything that they do for sure. And training camp is all about that too. And I'm so excited every year to see what they're going to do. That's a little bit different, a little bit new. It's an awesome time. I love training camp. It's the time where emotions and it's all what is someone say? It's time to confirm some priors. That's training camp. It is time. It's time to look at every single snap as a reason why something I said years ago or earlier this offseason. Well, look, that just shows that I'm right about McCole Hardman or one way or another, right? Or I knew Bo Pete Keys was going to be a lockdown. Did you see that one snap? Stuff like that. It's so much fun. And trying to glean through what matters versus what doesn't it's tough.
Yeah, it is. I've kind of been doing the same thing. I find it humorous that a lot of people are coming out and, hallelujah, they're changing the run scheme aspect somewhat. And I keep going back. Hey, I told you that when they brought in Tooney. I told you that when they brought in Brown. I told you that when they drafted Creed. And I told you that when they drafted Trey. So, yeah.
You tried to warn everyone, but, it's not our fault that we rarely listen to you, Ryan. It's as though you're acting as though that's something that we're responsible for.
Well, you all populate the proverbial abyss that I keep shouting into, so I'm just hopeful.
Sure.
Folks, Ben Brotbeck, thank you as always. The Super Chatter Extraordinaire. If you want to support us on this channel, Seth's work, our work, everybody here, as well as, we'll get to Seth's Substack here in a second, you can do what Ben did and throw us a super chat. We always appreciate that.
Yes.
We'll make sure to answer your question or address your comment, whatever it is. We appreciate that support. And for all of you who have been ordering out of the RGR store, I'm really glad that you're digging the merch there. I have some new merch coming as well. You're going to dig that. Hopefully, I'll get my preview copy before I go to camp in a week. I don't know. I'm not going to hold my breath, but it is what it is. But Ben, thank you. And Ben's question is about the offensive line, the depth being huge. And from all the pieces in camp, do we keep 9 or 10? Wiley, LT, Allegretti, Durant, Prince, Blythe, Williams, and Remmers. I'm leaning towards 10. I don't know about you.
I feel like you almost have to, because when you really break it down, and you and I talked about this when I wrote about the line, there is, when you think about guys that for a fact are making the team, barring like something catastrophic happening, right? You've got for sure, obviously, Brown, Tooney, Humphrey, and we'll just go with the people that are currently starting right now, right? Then Smith, then Niang. Okay. Remmers is virtually a lock. It would be stunning if they got rid of him, because I don't know who right tackle would be without him. Or backup right tackle. So you've got those 6 for sure. Austin Blythe is the only guy with center experience at the NFL level on the roster. Mm-hmm. I don't think you really want to get rid of him. As the active roster, LDT seems like an unlikely cut on the surface. Kyle Long's a guy that they really like. Wiley's a guy they've liked for years, who it's worth noting they brought back the franchise this year, and they're featuring him fairly prominently.
They're throwing him touchdown passes.
Yeah, and, let me just tell you, while the football side and the social media side don't, it's not like they're constantly palling around. It's not like they never talk.
Right.
And Wiley's a guy who's been on the team for years and is kind of, at this point, kind of one of the veteran guys in the room, with LDT having been gone last year. And so it's not like he's as easy to cut as people might be thinking. And there's other guys. Allegretti played a ton of snaps last year. And it's not, he wasn't great, but he wasn't terrible as a rookie. Yep. And there's just a lot of guys there. Williams has a lot of potential. I think you almost have to keep 10, in part because of what happened with depth last year. Mm-hmm. I think should scare them. And in part because they're just guys there that you might not necessarily really want to cut.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Kyle Long's going to start on the PUP list. So that takes part of that away. So if you're counting on him to be a player that produces, you might need to keep 2 guys in his place in order to get that kind of impact.
Yes.
So it makes things tough. But Night Hunter says that you're very juicy, and I'm glad that you're feeling that way. Michael Shea, when we do radio, those are our appearances to try to get to more of you. I don't know. Seth, do you have a contract with somebody? Because I don't.
I do have a contract with 810.
Okay, so Seth gets paid.
But that's super recent, guys. That's like the ink might still be drying on that.
Good for you. So yeah, listen to 810. That's where Seth will be. And then anybody who wants to throw my voice on a radio, they know I'm down. So
yes,
you'll hear me with
the more Ryan I get in my life, the sultry tones. That's right, I went with sultry.
I like
of your voice. The better my life gets, really. So I tell everyone that might listen, it's like, you know what you need in your life? You need more Ryan Tracy.
You know what? My wife said that until we got married. But thank you. I'm sure she's watching right now. I don't hear any stomping, but it'll come eventually.
Oh yeah. No, it'll come back around.
AC 30ish. Yeah, he definitely does seem to be the new guy. We'll see how camp works out. There's still a couple weeks of camp. But yeah, Armani Watts is on the ledge here, especially given that he started late because of the foot injury. It makes it difficult for him. So
yeah, Watts is always going to be an interesting case to me. And I understand like there were some concerns about certain aspects of his game coming out of college, but he's a guy that whenever he's been on the field, I've often thought maybe, because he seems to close well. And he seems to be constantly around the ball, which is a phrase people throw out all the time. But with him, it actually feels true. Yeah. And so I've often wondered what the barrier is between him and increased playing time. But I would say, yeah, I mean, he's the one that's going to be on the chopping block, especially like if Key plays special teams, because that's where Watts would stay on the team.
Well, and Key addressed it today, too, that they're throwing a lot at him. They're playing him deep. They're playing him in the box. So that's multiple roles that you have to learn. And for him, he felt I think his quote was that he felt he had the advantage because they had a very complex system down in Western Kentucky. And I know that staff has some former pro experience on it. So that rang pretty true to me. I haven't done the research, but that would give him the mental kind of acuity, really, to try to adjust into the pro game that is a lot more sight-oriented and role-oriented.
Where did House come from?
House came from Kentucky itself.
Okay.
Yeah. Not the same spot. That's why I was like, if Jamin Davis ends up on this roster, I mean, House recruited him and everything. So
college is so confusing. There's so many places with similar sounding names.
At least the conferences are narrowing down, right? There's like 3 left.
Yeah, I know. They're gonna eventually just abandon the conference system, so that'll be fun.
Evidently, Big 12 is talking to Pac-12 now, so KU could be the new Pac-12 basketball power. I'm just telling you guys that.
What are they gonna call it? The Big Pac?
And they're calling it. I would call it Big West, right? I mean, that's gone now, isn't it? Because now it's Mountain West, and now it's everything basically east or west of the Mississippi.
I don't know. I don't even watch like the national championship. Sometimes I do.
You're doing it wrong.
I don't have any time. I was literally writing a work email 10 seconds.
I know. That's a good point.
Sitting there like, if I could learn to type with my whole hands, this would all go much faster.
Just learn to use that guy.
Oh, right. I knew I was doing something wrong. 3 words a minute.
Right.
These articles take days.
Yeah, and if I could do any better voice texting, I might try that, but I can't. You guys, when you see my really, really, really terrible tweets, it's because I used voice text to do it.
Voice text is dangerous. You always got to review it because otherwise you end up saying something just stupid.
I mean, dumber than I usually say.
Yeah, but like it ends up like it's like, oh man, I didn't mean to call you that, Pastor. You know.
Well, maybe I did.
Yeah.
So let's answer Scott's question. Thank you, Scott. We appreciate the super chat and the support. Anything particular from today that you found fascinating?
Nothing. Today I can be really honest with you, but I won't. No, I'm kidding. I will. I have been, from the moment I came to work, I've had time to retweet a couple things. I barely paid attention today. It seemed like today there wasn't really any like new information in terms of like lineups or any one person particularly standing out. I would say the juiciest thing that I've heard throughout camp, and this is kind of, I'm cheating, Scott. I'm taking your question. I'm totally just morphing it. So I think the juiciest thing that I've heard from camp the entire time is probably the fact that everyone is like just singing the praises of Willie Gay Jr. I'm excited for that.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a couple of days till he can get back out there. I'm hoping it's not longer than that. Yep. We'll see. But I will tell you guys, in terms of gossip today, the big takeaway that I had is that I didn't see a ton of negativity about Lucas Niang. So that feels like progress to me.
Sure. And, Niang has been an interesting case where he seems to – he catches a lot of crap, and I'm not sure all of it's warranted or most of it, but I guess we'll see. Yeah. I've actually seen Orlando Brown catching a little more flack, although Mitch Schwartz kind of like he said some stuff. Training camp reps, one-on-ones. I had someone ask me, why are people being told to not disregard, but not give too much importance to offensive line versus defensive line one-on-ones when the offensive lineman wins, but not as much when he loses. I would say this, don't give it too much importance either way because you don't know what they're working on. It might just be, hey, we want you to take a horizontal set here no matter what the defender does. It's like, well, what if he avoids contact and then does a speed rush? It's like, nope, that's what I want you to do. Yeah. Okay, I guess. Or, you've got a defender who's just going to try some form of some spin move over and over, just trying to, figure out what he's doing. Those are things you don't know. I would say this, though, in terms of O-line versus D-line reps, winning one-on-one as an offensive lineman in that situation where there's all that space for the defender to work with is much more impressive than losing is concerning. I would say it's a similar thing to when corners are facing receivers one-on-one in these drills. It's much more impressive for a corner to be able to lock a guy down in that scenario than it is concerning when a receiver cooks him, because it takes away all the normal advantages that you would have. And so, like, for an offensive lineman, if you're Orlando Brown, normally you can tell pre-snap if Joe Thuney has a guy heads up on him, and guards often don't. Nope. And so that Thuney's going to have at least one hand here. And you can cheat a little to the outside. And there's just not as much space.
Well, I'll tell you, space is the key for me, because I always relate it when somebody asks me about this is in one-on-ones, the defensive lineman is like the slot corner in an actual game. Normally, a defensive lineman has a gap they're responsible for, whether they're rushing or defending the run. In that scenario, they have a two-way go. Mm-hmm. And so they have the tactical advantage from the get-go, from the basis of the drill. So you're absolutely right. It's more rare in the opposite. So you'd like to see everybody, just cold clock everybody and not let any pressure in. But
right. But then, if the offensive line was dominating, then everyone would be saying, the pass rush is going to suck again this year. And there's just no winning with training camp. It's one of my favorite things in that you can tell whether someone is an optimist or a pessimist based on a training camp rep.
Yep.
And so it'll just be interesting to see. We're not going to know much about Orlando Brown and the Chiefs offense until week 1. We'll know a little more with preseason because that's real football. That you can learn more about one-on-ones, not so much, team success. That's not really. The Chiefs could lose their first preseason game 30-0. I'd be like, that just doesn't matter that much. What's more important to me is, like, what do these guys look like actually in real live action? But those one-on-ones, they're fun to watch, and they do matter a little. They matter. Look for traits. Same thing as preseason. Preseason, you're looking for traits, but you're also looking for wins and losses, right? Mm-hmm. Training camp, look for traits. Does Jones still seem svelted down to 310 or to 310, going down from 300, 310 to 290? Does he still seem strong? Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. That's a big deal. Those are the things you watch. Okay, so he can still bull rush Orlando Brown, who, by the way, not a lot of defensive ends bull rushed him successfully last year, like at all. And that includes, I'm thinking of pretty much anyone, honestly.
There was Myles Garrett and there was Myles Garrett, and that's about that.
Yeah, Myles Garrett was able to do it to him. And even then, not every time.
True.
And that's where, he's just Jones still having that kind of unique strength. Look for stuff like that. Frank Clark. Is Frank Clark utilizing power moves again? Do they look effective? Those are things to look for. Traits rather than necessarily results.
Yeah. It's funny. Camp is a switch. When it gets to the season, we need results. And the traits are how you get there. Now we're looking for the traits to see if you can get there. It is a switch over. So
yes, yep. You're watching for completely different things. Yeah. And that's one reason why it's so hard to gauge what matters and what doesn't. And ultimately, some guys just practice really well or not as well, and they just play differently in games. And as much as we try to quantify everything, it's hard to quantify guys that just play better during the game. They just do.
Gamers are a rare breed. You never know who they are until they are.
Absolutely. It's a weird deal. You just don't know, because so much of it in the NFL is recognition of game scenario and the play that's coming and that mental processing aspect. And you just don't get that experience as much in practice and one-on-ones. And it takes on such a high importance level during games. And maybe that's it. Maybe we've identified the trait that separates gamers. You know, they just see the game a little bit faster, and that doesn't matter as much in practice because you're just trying to do one or two things. So it's an interesting idea, though. Catholic school, I'll take it.
Okay, well, that's good. And yes, Joseph, we do feel like getting time with the ones is a good thing. It helps. If he maintains that and stays ahead of Will Parks all the way to cut down day, then yes, definitely. You might see some flip flop there, but the real question comes down to Parks has a ton of experience. I would still have him higher on the depth chart, but I haven't been there yet, so I can't say that. They might just be exploring what the key looks like. I hope that they keep 5 is what it comes down to for me, because you want to have some time. If Juan needs a rest at some point, or Dan does, you want that depth at that position.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if they are going to continue to base their secondary around safeties.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something they've done consistently. Thornhill, I mean, bringing that up, it's been weird.
It is.
Nate tells me that Thornhill looks like he's moving fine. Seems like himself. I think maybe it's time for Chiefs Kingdom to accept the level of love this defensive staff has for Dan Sorensen.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
just is what it is.
That, and I can say too that I've seen him make a couple of plays, and I'm only looking from clips, folks. I haven't been to camp yet. But I do see he's working through hesitancy. He said that even late in last season, he was still hesitant at times. Mm-hmm. And so, especially if your groin's a little tight and you're not feeling the best, there might be a little bit of that there still. So let's see how he gets all the way back. I'm still confident in Juan Thornhill.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, we're going to get through some of the super chats because I'm way behind now, of course, because that's what I do. Do you see more linebacker blitzes coming based on better athleticism? By the way, segues getting good on Lock On. Oh, thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. I'm working on it.
What I'm going to take from that, Ryan, is that your segues used to suck.
Yeah, that's kind of what no lie. We used to be a very segmented, hey, this is the end of the first segment. We're going to throw you an ad and we'll be back in a second. Now it's like, oh, we're sliding all around because we're live on video when we do it. So,
oh, sure. That's a change.
Yeah.
Blitzes.
Mm-hmm. They happen.
They do. Man, Spags loves blitzing his slot corner.
Yep.
He loves it. And Snead's really good at it. Like, that was like unexpected. And Matthew was really good at it too.
Yeah.
There's a chicken or egg thing. I'm probably using the wrong thing. It's more of a 6 of one, half dozen of the other. Do you blitz more or less with more athleticism at linebacker, thinking, hey, they'll get to the quarterback faster? Or do you blitz with those guys less, thinking they're assets in coverage?
Yes.
And helping the pass. Like, to me, I think the best use of Anthony Hitchens against the pass is blitzing him, because he comes downhill fast and hard when he blitzes. Yeah. And if there's a running back in his way, he does terrible things to that running back, generally speaking. Whereas in coverage, he's a little more limited. Whereas with Gay, his range is so much more. And we'll see how the instincts work out. We're hearing good things about Bolton in coverage as well at camp. They just become a little more of an asset. But I think the biggest thing is, I like your yes. Well, expand on that yes, because I'm curious what you mean by that, because I think I might end up being just in sync.
I am a fan of the 2 linebacker nickel. I'm not a fan of the dime where you drop a safety into that role. And from my standpoint, when you have 2 linebackers out there consistently, you can fire either of them. And you can be less predictable that way. I think that helps the coverage of the off linebacker. And I think it protects you against where everybody wants to go, and that is the slot. You're right. Snead is a great blitzer from the slot. I don't like leaving that chink in the armor myself. So I would rather send a backer than a DB. But it's key on having 2, because you have to have a coverage backer and you have to have a blitzing backer. And I think Willie can do both. I think Hitch can do both to a lesser extent on the coverage side. I want people destroyed.
What I was thinking is one of the more effective things you'll see in coverage, and one of the times I've seen Mahomes most picked off outside of like drops or miscommunications is when he misses the linebacker. And it's such a, because teams love to attack the short middle of the field against blitzes. They love it. And by having a pair of linebackers who might do either, you've got a lot more chance of some of those fake blitzes dropping to coverage, or what is it, a coffee house, where I'm not good. I mean, that's one of my favorites. I really feel like I made the viewer experience.
No, that was good. Wait, you got to warn me so I can do this next time.
Yeah, that way it becomes genuinely terrifying. You just like, I'm here now. I'm here. It's just like, oh. That's how I explain football. By the way, a lot of gurgling sounds.
Nice.
So that's, I think, the most advantageous thing. And then you also, with a linebacker, you should be in theory a little stronger against the run if they decide to do something cute.
Yeah.
We'll see what they do. I think the existence of Bolton and Gay in back-to-back drafts, relatively high in the draft, are indicative of that's the direction they go. I don't think you spend second rounders on back-to-back drafts if you intend on one of those dudes being on the field only half the time. I think the future of the Chiefs is Bolton and Gay on the field the vast majority of the snaps.
I'm with you. I hope that's the way that it works out. A couple of super chats that I missed. Thank you, Jay Elder, for your support. How great is the Keys as a president seems to be getting a lot of traction. You're absolutely right. A lot of Keys fans today, and I think that's warranted. He kind of jumped up by surprise. I had him as a possible pushing for the practice squad. I didn't have him making the 53 initially, so he's definitely coming a long way, and it seems to be on the mental side that he's making some headway. Dre asked, do you think that Mahomes will step into the pocket more this season with a revamped offensive line?
Maybe.
I think he's going to stand there and be bored, to tell you the truth.
Mahomes with good protection is a sight to behold. And I think that, yes, it's just going to depend so much, though, on every piece of it. You mentioned a chink in the armor. He's going to need to trust everyone. Mm-hmm. I'm curious about pressure from the tackles as opposed to pressure from the interior. I'm curious which one is a bigger deal for Mahomes. Now Reed clearly has an opinion because they've invested so much in the tackle spots. So I'm going to defer to Andy Reid on that. But I got to tell you, when guys win on the edge, they end up against Mahomes in space. And despite the fact that people don't think of Mahomes as a great athlete, he constantly embarrasses them. Mm-hmm. So I think you should see more of it, but I'm really curious. It's going to need to be consistent because that's the biggest thing with Mahomes is only bailing out when he needs to bail out. And that's not something that's ever been consistent. It's probably something he'll fight his whole career because when you're that great at something, you're probably going to err on the side of overdoing it rather than underdoing it.
Well, it's almost instinctual at this point. So,
right. Like me and saying juicy.
Right, exactly. Speaking of Gooch, how are you, Gooch? Thanks as always, buddy. He said he's hearing that Powell's having a case of Demetrius Harris. What he means is there are a number of drops going on for Cornell Powell, and that's what I'm hearing as well. Are you seeing that or hearing that?
You know what? I haven't heard much about him at all, and so I would far be it for me to doubt the good word of yourself and Gooch. So I haven't really heard much at all about him. I remember seeing a drop. But, I haven't heard that it's been a pattern. And if that's the case, that's the case. He had good hands in college. I assume it's something he'll get a grip on.
Well done. Well done.
But, it's definitely when you are supposed to be the X, the intermediate guy, the possession receiver type, you got to have just, flypaper for hands. It just doesn't work any other way. So you're not going to see the field in Andy Reid's offense if you struggle with drops unless you have some sort of – it's like Mecole Hardman has struggled with drops here and there. But Powell doesn't have earth-defying speed.
Right.
You need to have something else to bounce it out.
Another big one from Ben. Thank you, Ben. We appreciate that. And he was talking about all the O-line depth. What about the D-line? Oh, nice. I like that. Don't hit the camera too hard. They break.
The D-line, tons of depth.
Yeah, I'm not concerned. I'm more concerned about one number 55 putting out than I am about having depth behind him.
Yeah. That's going to be the big question. I mean, Clark hasn't had this much to prove in a few years.
Yeah.
So we'll see if he continues to play at the same level he played last year. I'm going to go ahead and say there's something physical going on, and just say, okay, maybe he's just past it, a little young, or whatever, right? Or there's something that we'll just never know about. We'll see. So I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm more like, man, how are they going to get Tershawn Wharton snaps? I'm really comfortable with a lot of what they have there, especially now that it really does seem like the Jones at end thing is their plan, and that it might work.
Yeah.
Because, Reed is a natural to fill in at the 3 tech in that situation. And then, on base downs, it only makes sense to have Noddy in there, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And then, Clark or whoever. And so it's like, well, but now that they've made comments about Wharton playing all over too, which is something you and I have been talking about. Like, why are we not talking about the freak athlete guy playing on the edge? That seems to make sense. I mean, it seems so simple.
Well, and the good thing is Frank Clark can win reps inside on guards as well.
Absolutely.
So if it becomes that you're getting better performance on the edge from Wharton, that's something you can do with more regularity in an easy switch.
Absolutely. And that would be their pass rushing packages are going to be really interesting this year, because I'm curious who is where and who gets the majority of the snaps. Yeah. I mean, like, if I had my druthers sight unseen of anything else that I've seen, right, it would be at this point, wherever they play them, Reed, Jones, Clark, and Wharton for pass rushing downs.
Pass rush, yep.
But you throw Charlton into the mix there. And Wharton's interesting in that once he gets the mental aspect of it, if he does, because that's not a given.
True.
He's strong against the run too. Really hard to move. Plays much heavier when he has time to anchor. Not when he has time to anchor, when he realizes that he needs to. He's hard to move. He'll hold up stout against double teams. It's just he doesn't always see them coming.
I have never heard more professional age men talk about another man's thighs than Tershawn Wharton.
That is accurate. So he must, and these are, it's not like, you've been to training camp, you've seen these dudes. Most of their thighs are freakishly large. That's just the rule. But I wonder, for him to get talked about that much, you got to be a freak of nature. And so maybe that's it. Maybe 80% of his weight is in his thighs. So that makes him very difficult to move.
I like it. Edward, thank you for the super chat. No, there isn't probably a worse relationship other than the Texans and Watson.
Man, that stuff's unbelievable.
But I got to tell you, my gut tells me he lands in Miami.
Miami makes sense, although they're really talking up Tua right now.
Yeah. That's my thought. Patty, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
I'll look for something else from you too. Night Hunter thought that was very juicy, Seth. Well done.
Yeah.
Gooch, with key performing as well as he did, I say it's the end of Dirty Dan. I don't think so, man. The love that Spags has for Dan Sorensen is not unrequited.
I'm not going to like bet anything because I've gotten myself in enough trouble with that sort of thing.
Nothing edible, at least.
I would just say that I would be shocked if Dan Sorensen didn't have a significant role in the defense this year. And I'm not saying that's the way I would do it, but I'm saying that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I hear you. Nipper Girl, thank you for your support. We appreciate it. Gooch, that was juicy. And folks, if you want more from Gooch, you can sign up, become a member. You can get his weekly video. He and Stevie Keys are going to have a video every week coming up here when the season starts, and maybe a couple of extra things. But it is all in the memberships. And the newest thing in the memberships right now, if you are a starter level or above, we're getting invites into the Discord. The Discord is the community where you can come on. It's like a Reddit kind of thing. It's a number of things. where you can talk just amongst RGR members and just about the Chiefs. It's a great community. All you got to do, sign up for a starter level membership and make sure you contact us. It's rgrpodcasts@gmail. I should have typed it in. I'm just going to have to make a banner for it while we're sitting here talking because nice. I should be smarter than this. But it's something that Gooch and Stevie and Aaron started. Aaron is in the chat tonight. And it is another way that you can get in contact with all the rogues that are out here. I am, again, typing this out, and I'm slow. So as Seth is typing and I am typing, this is scintillating video.
This is scintillating. Hey, you didn't tell me you needed me to take over. I'm waiting for you to throw another super chat up there. You said you were so far behind that I got stressed out for you.
Well, I am, and I do it.
Throw one up there and then do your thing. I'll do the rest.
All right, there's that. Okay, well, Gooch was the next one. Okay, and then Gooch was the next one. Thanks, Gooch. Keys is not a surprise to some of us. Okay, well, I'm glad that you knew stuff. We're still going to have to talk about his tackling technique. Let's hope that's Ed Brockback, third from you. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. I'm looking for a comment down below as to what you are thinking. Oh, okay. Sorry. And that was just me being slow. Apologies.
How was the depth on the D line? Yes.
And there's Aaron making all well and good. Thank you, Aaron, the fearless mod that does
Aaron
all the work.
Makes it happen.
He does.
While Ryan kind of sputters and I'm extremely fond of you, Ryan.
Thank you, buddy. I'm fond of Brad. Thank you, Brad.
Hold on. It's right about
there you go.
Give or take. The reverse was messing with me. I don't think the UK. Oh, it's that one, right? I got there like more or less. You just gotta keep going north.
Folks, learn the lesson. For 5 pounds, you can get stupid animal tricks out of Seth.
That's actually accurate in most cases. It's the line from Calvin and Hobbes. I don't know what's more depressing, that everyone has a price or that the price is so low. Is the
there's
it's only sad if you don't accept it. If you accept it, then it becomes fine.
Everybody say hi to Brad and go check out his channel, Brit Chief. You're going to see him on Sunday when we put up that conversation.
Brad's good people. Hey, Brad.
Brad, that was a lot of fun. If I didn't tell you before, I hope that I did. I don't know. I'm losing my mind these days, so who knows? But that brings us caught up with the super chats, and that's what I want to get to. One of your last pieces, and this is what I think it kind of comes down to. I used to have this segment called Fool's Gold. But I want you to go over the way I can't remember how you put it, but
real or fantasy. Tell me what your fantasy is, Ryan.
You sound like a Harlequin romance.
Yes, and also don't tell me what your fantasy is. I'd rather not know.
This is a family show.
This is a Man, I had so many things pop into my head to say none of them were acceptable that my brain went like that was bad. So recently, I wrote about training camp and what a fun time of the year it is. And the fact is, this time of year, because there's so much that's unknown, we tend to have a bunch of storylines that emerge, right? And, Dexter McCluster is breaking shoes and is going to break the NFL. John Baldwin is unstoppable. Or on the flip side of things, Tyreek Hill looks unbelievable. And everyone at that point is like, we've seen this play before. And then he was unbelievable, right? Whispers Patrick Mahomes is a Ferrari, stuff like that. And so there's so many storylines. Some of them are real. Some of them are fantasy. And so I wrote an article called Real or Fantasy. I went through some of them at the Chief in the North newsletter, which, by the way, you can subscribe to for the low, low price of $12 a year forever. You can go to minnesotachiefsfan.substack.com. That's the site. You can also go to bit.ly/Seth really hates money. True story. That will take you to $12 a year. And it's not because I necessarily hate money. It's just I'm not that fond of it. And so if you're going to give me money, don't give me that much of it. I'd prefer, it's just sports, man. Don't give me that much of your money. Give me some of your money. I like that. That's a good pitch, right? I just want a little of your money. Don't give me too much. Just a little bit of your money. That makes me really sound like a shyster, though. So I'm going to be careful there.
Well, I mean, you are a lawyer.
Yeah,
what
exactly.
A retainer other than that?
And it's just just a little bit of your money. You're not even gonna miss it. It's actually the price of a foot-long Subway sub. for a full year subscription. I mean,
$5.
Yeah. So I went through that real or fantasy. Actually, there's a $12 Subway. I am being chippy today, Anita. How you doing? And so real or fantasy. So do you want to go through some of these and then I'll tell you what I thought?
Yeah, sure.
All right. I'm just going to start off with an easy one. Real or fantasy, Chris Jones is actually going to be playing defensive end this year.
That is real.
Significant snaps?
Yeah, 60% is my guess.
Wow. We're up to 60 now. So you're feeling like, is that because you feel so good about the interior and you think they're going to seek to?
I feel that when every other defensive lineman directly brings up Derek Notty's name, it feels to me like they feel they have a foursome, and that includes Chris on the outside.
Yeah, that does make sense. And they love Notty. And under a guy who deserves more credit than he gets, but you can't go too far with it because of his role, because then he might get more credit than he deserves. It's tough. But he's good at what he does, and he's also a heck of an interview. Yeah. And he's very, very good at his job. So, all right. Well, here, I'll do another one. This is a popular thing at this point. Maybe people made up their minds about this. Real or fantasy, Trey Smith starting right guard.
Was there any week designation? Do you mean week 1?
Week 1.
Oof.
Let me ask you a different way. Do you think there's a possibility that Andy Reid would start off and then shift his offensive line mid-year? Because I don't think that's very likely, barring an injury.
I know he doesn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that I question is they're giving Trey all this go, and he's doing great in practice. When you go up against other teams that are out to kill Patrick Mahomes, there's a level that we got to remember, he is still a rookie. And not everybody's Aaron Donald, but when the headhunters come to town looking for Patrick, can he raise his game to meet them? That's going to be my question.
Absolutely. And he's not going to be able to rely on Humphrey to necessarily bail him out and walk him through some of that. Now, maybe he can, right?
Yeah.
But Humphrey's a rookie too.
Yeah.
And as much as Humphrey is a very polished player, one interesting thing to note with both Smith and Humphrey is both of them were like 3-year starters in college. Like these are dudes that have been playing a lot.
And if you guys haven't seen the whiteboard work with Jeff Schwartz that's on CBS, they're both very, very cerebral. So fitting into the Reid scheme, that's the formula.
Yep.
Athletic enough to do the job, and can you understand your role and the guys next to you and the guys next to him?
Right. So I think some of how successful Smith would be in terms of consistency would depend on Creed Humphrey. Because if Humphrey can be what we're kind of hoping in his rookie year, that can really cancel out some of that. But it's very different than if, he were starting, if like Mitch Morse were at center. Because then it's like, hey, kid, watch, blah, blah, whatever. Hey, I've got my hand here. You're going to be all right. And that's just a little bit of a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see them switching it up. I didn't think it was real at first. I figured they would swap him and LDT.
Yeah.
And I guess we'll see what happens. I don't see Kyle Long coming back, though, like a week before the season or whenever they think he's going to be back and just jumping back into the starting lineup.
I'll tell you now, he'll be on the pup. He won't be back till week 6 or 8. I guarantee it.
Holy crap.
Yeah. With a tibial plateau injury like that. Nah.
But you say that like you know stuff about this kind of stuff. I don't even.
It's like I went to school and stuff. I mean, now that said, they have not officially named that as the injury. That's what's been kind of floating around. If that is the case, then that's my expectation. He's on the pup. And
that's a bummer for him. I mean, he might end up just having to play like a roving backup role and maybe help out backup right tackle and right guard.
Who's better being Wiz than Kyle Long? I'm comfortable. I'm here.
That's true.
The Wiz role.
That's true. So I would just say I wasn't buying it at first. I thought it was fantasy. I just said there's no way they're going to do this. Holly, thank you for subscribing. And reverse psychology. Holly, I'm going to need you to stop saying that. I don't know what you're doing, but can you not? What are you doing? They'll know. Anyway, with Smith initially, I didn't buy it. Like I said, I thought they would be swapping him out. But as far as I've heard, we're a couple weeks in now, and it's every single rep, like first team rep, has been Trey Smith. Like, because you hear about like Remmers and Niang swapping in and out even before Remmers got hurt. They did a little bit of swapping there. But it has been just Trey Smith. Yeah. And I guess I would say these are incredibly valuable reps for LDT or for Smith. This isn't like a situation where, LDT was playing last year. So, I mean, he knows the system so well. Give the Rook a bunch of reps.
See, I would argue with that a little bit, only because he has so many reps in this offense. Yes, he's really rusty and he needs them as well. But I would say that it's not as immediate the need. But thank you, Holly. And Didi is saying that I'm always doubting him. I'm trying to give you guys the grain of salt because I've been burnt by rookies before. And I just want to tell you that this is a great level to be at. This isn't game level against NFL competition.
Ryan, who hurt you?
Everyone.
So I would just say I totally hear you on that, but it's weird that they're not like swapping them out.
Yeah.
Because Reed values continuity, and those reps are important. And so I just maybe this is all just like after the first preseason game, then we're going to put LDT back in. But I'm buying it a lot more than I was 2 weeks ago.
And I'll tell you this. It looks to me, in movement-wise and everything, that they're on a similar level. But LDT is nowhere near as nasty. There's a certain aspect of what Trey brings to this group of being more dominant. And I think that's important. I think that sets the tone for the whole offense.
I think it does too. And then you add, Brown into the equation, because Tooney is an excellent offensive lineman, but he's not like a brutal finisher or anything.
Right.
And that wasn't really Humphrey's game either. He's got some nastiness to him, but it was a little more rare. Whereas with Smith, it was consistent.
Yeah. And LDT is kind of a mix. He's nowhere near the top end of the nasty part. And I would call Creed and Tooney both technicians, if anything.
Absolutely. And so it does bring something different. And the question is whether or not he can be consistent. That was something that I was, when Reed was asked, and I think you and I talked about this, how he got the spot, and Reed's answer was consistency.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, that is encouraging. Because when I wrote about Smith prior to the season starting, again, find that at the Chiefs of the North newsletter. What I commented was he needs to up his consistency. And it could be that maybe the coaching he got at Tennessee wasn't quite as good as what he's getting now. Andy Heck has a great reputation among offensive line coaches. And so he could be a guy that you see rookie year from last year in college make a big leap. Mm-hmm. Now, the danger of that would be like if he does that, then in year two, people are going to expect him to be like elite, and you might see him flatten out. Right. But that could be something. So I've got another reel of fantasy for you, depending on how many super chats we might or might not have to do. Are we good?
We have one more in the waiting, so go for it. Thank you again, Holly. We didn't mean to brush over you.
Yes, Holly, you rock. And seriously, be careful what you say. They can hear you.
Aloha, Jeremy.
I don't know who they are. Aloha. So, all right, this is one of my favorite ones because it's becoming like a running bit. Real or fantasy? Noah Gray as an instant contributor in year one.
Oh, in year one. Okay, you don't mean week one. Yes,
I mean week one. Yes, instant. That's instant mashed potatoes. Don't take weeks, Ryan. This is an instant contributor. This is week one. Whoa, Noah Gray was targeted 5 times?
Instant mashed potatoes have to get up to temperature. So take it easy. If I believe Travis Kelce, and unless it's about a dating show, I generally believe Travis Kelce. It sounds like Noah is going to be a big part of their plan. Is that necessarily week one against Cleveland? I'm not certain of that. But I think if you look at year one, yes, I think he's going to be one of the top 5. I'll call him the 4th targeted guy.
Kelce, Hill,
Clyde,
Gray.
Yeah.
Hardman.
Yep. That is the order that I have in my head right now.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if we spent all offseason worrying about an X? And in the meantime, Andy's like, I'm actually got like 50 targets set aside for the H-back that I'm pulling from elsewhere. That would be such a great joke. And that would be such an Andy Reid thing to do. It's like, oh, I need an X. No, actually, I'm pretty good rotating a bunch of dudes in there, letting Kelce take a ton of snaps there. And we're going to give the H-back 500 snaps this year. That would be amazing. And not that he'll just play H-back, but I mean,
Right.
he can line up in certain places. And I actually, I'm actually buying this at this point. At this point, when I wrote the article, I said it was a fantasy. It's like, there's no way. There's no way. And don't tell Nate that I wrote that initially, by the way.
Okay.
Because he's
I'll
got
keep
this
it to
whole
myself
thing about
he's
got a whole thing about Noah Gray being a majestic white horse. It's a really creepy thing that he's going with, and so I'm encouraging it naturally.
I got to tell you, it's making me nervous.
I love it. I love it so much. I love it when Nate goes off script. It's the best version of Nate. But my understanding is once the pads came on, he didn't vanish.
Yeah.
And that was the thing with him. How are you going to hold up in those one-on-one reps? And also, can you just move as well in pads? The reality of the situation is some guys lose more in pads than other guys do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no, I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason as to why. Some guys are just more comfortable in pads. It's not easy running around in football pads with a helmet, it's just not easy. Rather than just a little shell, it makes you move a little different. So the fact that he didn't vanish once the pads came on, you still heard his name, maybe not quite as much.
Yeah.
Although that could be a deliberate thing too. Like after a couple of weeks, the Chiefs are like, okay, everyone shut up.
Yeah. Right.
Come
on, Nate, keep it to yourself.
Yeah. So that one's I'm kind of buying into. Here's one that'll make people mad.
Uh-oh.
Sorensen over Thornhill. Is that real or fantasy? Not what you think should happen. What you think will happen.
What are our criteria, though? Who plays more snaps or who plays more snaps?
Yep.
I'm going to take fantasy. I think it's close, but I'm going to take fantasy.
You think they give Thornhill the nod eventually here?
Yeah, I think eventually he gets back to full steam, loses hesitancy, loses whatever feel he's having, and I think he ends up playing more.
That would be amazing. It's funny because as a rookie, he played virtually every snap.
Yeah, and that's what I'm seeing. It's getting back to where that was, and I'm not sure what the process is going to be.
Right.
But if you can do it, I think that's what they want. Now, Phil asked a good question. Is our secondary going to be good enough to cover these speedy receivers they're going to be facing? Especially OBJ week 1, right?
Man, I can make my neck vanish.
Way to commit, bro.
That's disconcerting. I don't really have to. Oh, my goodness. I need to diet.
You and me both, man.
I look like I'm fake.
I'm pretty sure you're real.
Ryan, you say things. I'm having a complete meltdown right now over my appearance.
Okay. They're going to be okay because they have luxurious speed. If he goes down, things get a little bit more tense. They don't have long speed.
My head looks photoshopped onto my neck.
You know what I'm doing to you right now?
Does this not look like my head is photoshopped onto my shoulders?
Stevie, get a screen cap quick.
No. Stevie? I was just getting the envelope ready with that confetti. I've got the things. They're sitting right there on my shelf. Stevie? Oh man, that's gonna look funny.
Oh, that's awesome.
Anyway, what were we talking about before I had a midlife crisis during the middle of the show?
Secondary. They have enough speed to cover, the teams that are coming after them.
I don't know. Okay. Thornhill is a huge factor in that. Huge. Thornhill back at 100% opens up everything for everyone. Not necessarily just because of the plays that he makes, but it's the lanes that he cuts off. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest thing.
That's what safety play is about. It's making the quarterback not throw the ball.
Yep. And even if you only force them to check down or not look at those throws just a couple times a game, that's a big deal because those are big plays. And then also it alters the entire approach to where maybe they don't even look that direction as often. And there's just a lot that goes into it. The cornerback situation has me worried. We'll see. We've seen what they've done 2 years running here. I get a little concerned that you get a little bit arrogant in your thinking that, well, the rest of the NFL really values this position, so we'll scrimp here. Maybe. But it's just that's an iffy one. I have a lot of confidence in the safeties. I'm a little curious about what happens with the corners.
Can I just get Tyron's deal done so we can talk about going to get Howard, please, everyone?
Brett, that would be hilarious. I would enjoy that. And maybe that's how you negotiate. Like, Tyron, come on, man. Give us a little ground.
Come on, bro. We'll get you a new pal.
That would be such a cheap trick.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate the support. I'll look for another question from you down below here. I didn't see one initially. Let's see. Who else do we have? Want to make sure we get all you guys. I don't think. Yeah, Holly, I will never forget that. Those are hours of my life I cannot get back. And I only watched about half of it.
That, dude.
I watched it for like 4 or 5 episodes. I was like, is this ever going to mean anything to anyone?
No.
Only to Mark Schlereth. He's still pissed off about it.
Is he really? Like the fact that he did it?
No, that his daughter did. I'd have been pissed off too.
Yeah. Look, you know what? That's fair. Now, look, she's an adult. She can do what she wants, but as a dad, that doesn't mean it can't make you really angry.
Exactly.
It's like, no, you're totally free to do whatever the crap you want. You're an adult. That doesn't mean it's not going to piss me off. Like that's part of being a parent as your kids get older. You try to give them a little more autonomy, and then I occasionally have
disappointment.
Yeah, it's like, well, you seem mad. It's like, well, I am mad. Well, does that mean I can't? No, you can. I just think it's stupid.
Yeah. And I'm not going to let you not hear that.
Yeah.
Nathan, you have a good point. The X's and Andy's offensive have often been not the focal point. And I'm with you. It's not a terrible concern. I understand where you're coming from.
Well, yeah, it's the Z. I mean,
Michael, good point. If Juan can get there, he does. And that's it. I mean, the best thing for Tyron to do any play is to be a robber.
Yep.
That's what he's best at.
Yeah, it allows him to take advantage of his instincts, and then he's close to the line of scrimmage to help out against the run if things get kind of sideways. And I that's absolutely where he's best at, and that's where Juan is really important as well. Because Sorensen can't do that. No. Maybe Parks can.
Yeah.
But I mean, he doesn't have the same range.
No.
Non sequiturs. They are out there. That was such a kind way of phrasing that. It's like
it's very sweet in here tonight.
Yeah. Everyone's being so sweet tonight.
Oh, I vote for the latter, Stevie.
I think I'd look tremendous in a tutu. You can't tell. Aww. You can't tell because the nature of how I'm appearing here. But I've got great legs.
Oh, really? Okay.
I really thought that would throw you more than that. We've been doing this together too long.
I like me some me too. It's okay. Ben, thank you. Gooch, thank you. Stevie, as always. I wouldn't though. Just send my confetti. I won't do it.
I have your address now, and I'm also picking out the winners from the last mailbag. Work has been unfortunate the last 2 weeks, and so I've picked out the winners. I'm going to be sending out actually 6 because I've got 3 winners. I've got Stevie. You, my friend, are getting some Super Bowl confetti.
Thank you.
And then my good friend, I won't say his actual name, Birdlaw on Twitter. He helped me out with the Frank Clark article. He did a great job with it.
That was a great collaboration, by the way.
Oh man, yeah, he's a really smart guy. Just did a great job. Good writer too.
Yeah. I'm going to have a pretty cool display for your where your thing's going to be. So I'm looking forward to that. Zulu, thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Zulu.
This is an interesting one, Jerry. And I saw your earlier question. I can't remember who it was on, but yeah, I can't remember. It's gone now. I scrolled too far. Sorry, Jerry. Boodle is pushing. If Key is a UDFA that makes the roster, Boodle's the second option, as far as I understand. I liked him in Nebraska. My wife is a Huskers fan, so we watch a lot of Nebraska football on Saturdays. And I see the versatility in his game. He can be physical when he has to be. He can play okay in space. The fact that he had some things to work on, again, a little bit of tackling issue in college. If he can scrape that up, he's a guy that could be putting Bo Pete onto the practice squad.
Sounds good to me. I know he's been getting some run.
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to, right?
Yep.
Okay, this is Anita's happy. Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one that's thrown, though.
Birdlaw, he's the man.
Okay, we got the name down. Thank you, Miss Holly. We are wrapping up here. Phil's got another one. Who are Mahomes' backups other than Henny? No.
That's it.
I mean, their names are Gordon and Buechele. Neither of them will make the roster. I lean towards Gordon to make the practice squad, but I could be wrong. Buechele's been getting more of the 3 snaps lately, is what I understand.
Yep. It's largely irrelevant after Henny. Henny is he will keep us afloat for as many as, let's say, 6 games.
See, for me, Henny is easy math. Everybody take the routes that used to run, chop 10 yards of them, and now he can throw you the ball. He knows the offense. He knows the placement. He just doesn't have the arm. But up here is what makes the difference as a backup quarterback.
Absolutely. And he knows when to sprint for a 13-yard gain. And
right. Just don't throw your body again, dude. Come on. Make me cringe.
You're welcome, Holly.
Scott, we're going to get back to you. Thank you for hanging in with us. I asked what was up with Colin Saunders. I've heard the last few days since Pads went on that he's been making some steps forward. I expect him to be the backup to Reed. I expect him and Wharton to be the guys that rotate in on passing downs.
Well, and he might also be asking about Colin had a tweet.
Oh, I missed that then. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I have no idea what that is.
He had himself a tweet. Nothing like too crazy. I mean, just, saying his opinion.
Oh, okay.
Let me quote this. August 3rd. I bleeping love that y'all think I can't play this football bleep anymore. Love it. Makes the look on my faces that much sweeter when I do what I've been doing, knowing I could do. Ain't the last time I've been told I ain't good enough. It's fine. Now back to improvement. And then again on August 3rd, they done pissed me off. Bet that.
Hey, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think that's great.
He's gotten a lot of love. And if he starts to feel a little bit of sourness from Chiefs Kingdom and that motivates him, I am all for that because he has the physical talent.
Yeah, he absolutely does. He absolutely does. And, fans are hard on players. I personally, it bugs me. I just don't understand the need to rag on people the way that fans do. And not just Chiefs fans of every fan base.
Oh, yeah. My whole thing is don't add a player.
Yeah, you don't.
I don't add you about what you do for a job, right?
Right. Well, and also like this idea, and they get well compensated for it, all this stuff. It's a job and it's part of it. But like, to me, I've just never understood like the constant slinging of insults and calling guys like bums and saying they're no good. It's like every player that makes the NFL is probably better at football than I am at literally anything. Because I mean, they're one of the best. Let's say they're one of the best 2,000 or 3,000 football players on earth. Yeah. I am not one of the best 2,000 or 3,000 lawyers on earth. Probably not even in the top 100,000 or 200,000. I mean, there's just a lot of people doing stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's maybe what happened. But I mean, so that might have been what people were asking about too there.
Okay.
And I haven't heard anything weird, but that's just, I think there's some doubt there. And he's coming into an important year. Wharton took his snaps last year.
Yep.
And Wharton's been looking good in camp too.
What's that old movie? I can't remember. It was Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson. I expected you played better pissed off. That's what I'm looking
White
for.
Man Can't Jump.
That's what it is. I never remember the title of that movie. Liz, the new shirt designs are on the way. I'm trying to make sure that this store can print them correctly. My samples so far have had a couple of issues, so we're working on some things to clean that up, and then I hope to have them out by the first game of the season. Phil had another one. Do you think Saunders will be a great linebacker? I love him at linebacker, but he's 350 pounds now. I mean, that's just a display of athleticism that I love to see in Week 17 when it's meaningless.
That was so funny.
You can't count on that, but hey. Ben Creed is your starter at center. He will anchor this line, and he's playing very well.
Yes. Yep.
All right. That is the last of the questions for tonight. So, Seth, any parting thoughts or what we can see over on the Substack this week?
No matter what you do, no matter where you go, understand that I only want a little bit of your money. That's so inappropriate. I apologize. It's just a fun bit. But no, I'm still trying to figure out how to do the best Mahomes throws that didn't count because Game Pass took away all 22. I might give it a shot. The problem is they also took away the select a play feature. So that's just tougher to do. And so right now what I'm working on is X factors. I want to write about the players that can really raise the ceiling of the team the most, besides the obvious, Mahomes, Hill, etc. Those are the most obvious, Chris Jones. But I'm talking like, what are the guys that like, if they can jump it up a notch, who are the guys that can push the ceiling the highest? One would be McCole Hardman. Yeah. Because him taking a big step forward is would be massive for many reasons. So I'm going to write about that. And then I'm just going to see where the wind takes me. Oh, and the wind's probably going to take me to Kansas City, or St. Joseph's, I should say, on Monday to watch a Chiefs training camp. Probably should have led with that.
Yeah, you probably should have.
Yeah.
This Monday?
This Monday. It's not 150% sure thing, but follow me on Twitter, at Real Lemon Chiefs fan. I'm probably going to be heading down to Kansas City, probably arrive in Kansas City Sunday, eat some barbecue, spend some time with some dear friends of mine down there. And then Monday, my son Tucker and I, of the habanero incident.
I like that. We're going to title it that.
The biggest thing is he's actually just coming back from a road trip. He went on a youth group trip. I'm going to talk to him tonight, find out if he's up for going. If he is, then I'll go. If he's not, I really want to provide you wonderful people with content. That's a long drive to make myself for training camp. And I just want to spend time with my son, honestly. So
maybe delay it a week, because then you can be at the same time as me.
I can't. I took a look at my court schedule and it just doesn't work in terms of the types of hearings that I have. But I'm planning on being there Monday morning's practice. Not sure whether it's going to be actual pads or just shells. So that'll depend, but it'll be a lot of fun. If you're there Monday, take a look at my Twitter account. I'll let people know if I'm there. I plan on wearing a red 810 shirt, because why not? And hopefully it's not like 95, 100 degrees, because I will melt.
Cross something, dude.
Yeah.
Folks, there's a practice on Friday. They're off on Saturday, back on Sunday. If anything pops, you'll see something from us. Otherwise, look for Sunday night. Britt Chief is going to be with us, and we're going to go on from there. We'll be back with Seth next week. I hope that if you do drive, you have a nice drive. And folks, enjoy your weekend. We'll catch you next time.